So many women unknowingly sabotage attraction without even realizing it. It's not about being less beautiful, less smart, or less interesting. It's about a few subtle behaviors that instantly shift how a man sees you. In this video, I'm going to break down 4 common mistakes that kill attraction with men, and more importantly, how you can avoid them so you keep your value, your confidence, and that spark alive. One of the biggest mistakes people make early in dating is giving far too much, far too soon. We've all been there. You meet someone, you're excited, and suddenly your entire week revolves around when you're going to hear from them next. If they text, you drop everything to reply instantly. If they suggest meeting up, you cancel plans just to be available. And while in your mind it feels like showing enthusiasm, on the other side it often feels like desperation. The truth is, people tend to value the things they have to put effort into. Think about it. When you work hard to achieve something, whether it's landing a job, getting in shape, or building a business, you naturally treasure the outcome more than something that was just handed to you. Relationships work in a similar way. When someone feels they've earned your time, your attention, your affection, it becomes precious. But if it's given away instantly, before they've had the chance to invest in you, it can actually lower the perceived value of what you're offering. This doesn't mean you should play manipulative games or hold back to punish someone. It's not about being cold or detached, it's about pacing. It's about giving just enough to show genuine interest while still leaving room for them to step forward and contribute. Because attraction is a dance, and if you're the one doing all the steps, the other person never has to learn the rhythm. I once worked with someone who told me she was exhausted after just a few weeks of dating a guy. She had been cooking for him, driving across town to see him, constantly checking in to make sure he felt cared for. And do you know what his response was? He pulled away. Not because she wasn't amazing, but because she had already given him the experience of a long-term relationship without him having to earn it. There was no progression, no build-up, no challenge left to pursue. The irony is, the very behavior she thought would make him more attached actually did the opposite. By over-investing too soon, she robbed him of the chance to feel the excitement of winning her over. Men, like women, need to feel that their effort matters. They want to know that what they give, time, attention, consistency, is being reciprocated. If one person gives everything up front, it short-circuits that process. So how do you strike the balance? You lead with warmth. You show kindness. You respond with interest. But you don't rearrange your entire life after a week of knowing someone. If you had plans with friends, keep those plans. If you've got goals you're working on, don't put them on hold just because a new guy is texting you. Let him see that while you're excited about him, you're also excited about your own life. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what creates the feeling of, I don't just want to be with her, I want to be part of her world. Over-investing too soon is like giving away the last chapter of a book before someone has read the first. It ruins the journey. The most powerful relationships aren't the ones where someone floods the other person with effort immediately. They're the ones where both people steadily invest over time, each step creating more trust, more respect, and more attraction. Another powerful way attraction gets killed is when you ignore your own standards just to keep someone interested. At first it might feel harmless. You tell yourself it's no big deal, I'll let that one slide. But what you're really doing is teaching the other person that you don't mean what you say. Standards aren't about being controlling. They're about communicating what matters to you and what you will or won't accept in your life. The moment you abandon those, you send a message that your desire to keep someone around outweighs your own self-respect. Imagine someone shows up late to a date, not once but 3 times. Each time you bite your tongue. You don't want to come across as demanding, so you laugh it off or say it's fine. But inside it bothers you. You feel disrespected, yet you swallow it because you're afraid of rocking the boat. What happens is the other person learns, consciously or unconsciously, that your time isn't that valuable. They learn that they can get away with not showing up fully, and you'll still be there waiting. That's not attractive, it's exhausting. Men are drawn to women who know what they stand for, who set boundaries without apology. It's not about being rigid or unkind, it's about having a backbone. Attraction isn't just about chemistry, it's also about admiration, and admiration comes from seeing someone who respects themselves enough to enforce their standards. When you say I don't accept being spoken to like that, or my time matters, so I expect you to show up when you say you will, you're not being dramatic, you're teaching the other person how to treat you. I once spoke to a woman who dated a guy who openly admitted he didn't want anything serious. She wanted a committed relationship, but instead of walking away, she convinced herself that if she hung around long enough he'd change his mind. Months went by, she gave more and more of her energy, all while ignoring her own needs. And of course he never gave her what she wanted. Why would he? She had already shown him that she would stick around without getting her standards met. When she finally left, she realized the mistake wasn't him, it was that she ignored her truth from the very beginning. When you stick to your standards, yes, you might lose some people, but that's not a loss, it's clarity. It's the universe doing you a favor by removing the people who aren't aligned with what you need, and the men who are right for you won't run away when you hold firm. In fact, they'll lean in closer because they'll respect you for being clear. It's not about scaring someone off, it's about giving them the chance to rise to the occasion. Ignoring your standards might keep someone around temporarily, but it guarantees you'll lose their respect in the long run. Respect and attraction go hand in hand. The moment someone sees that you value their presence more than your own boundaries, they stop seeing you as someone special. They may enjoy your company, they may even like you, but the deeper admiration that fuels attraction, that disappears. Real value is maintained not by what you give, but by what you're unwilling to compromise on. Another subtle way attraction fades is when you find yourself needing constant reassurance. In the beginning of a relationship, it's natural to want to know where you stand. You're curious if he likes you as much as you like him, and sometimes you even overanalyze every word or text to get that answer. But when that desire for clarity turns into a never-ending need for validation, it quickly shifts from endearing to draining. Instead of enjoying the moments you share, you're always testing the relationship. Do you really like me? Why didn't you text me back faster? Are you sure you want to see me again? Those questions might come from a place of vulnerability, but to the other person, they feel like pressure. Confidence is one of the most magnetic qualities in any relationship. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about knowing that your worth doesn't depend on someone else constantly proving it to you. When you need reassurance all the time, you place the responsibility for your self-esteem in their hands. And the weight of that responsibility can make someone feel like no matter what they do, it won't be enough. That's not a recipe for attraction, it's a recipe for exhaustion. I once spoke to a woman who said she couldn't stop checking her boyfriend's phone for signs he was losing interest. She would look for changes in his tone, slower replies, or shorter sentences. The more she searched, the more anxious she became. And of course, the more anxious she felt, the more she clung to him for comfort. At first, he reassured her. He told her she was beautiful, that he cared, that she had nothing to worry about. But over time he grew tired of having to repeat himself over and over. What began as reassurance turned into frustration. Eventually he admitted he felt like he could never relax around her because she was always waiting for him to prove something. The truth is, no one wants to feel like they're under constant examination. Attraction thrives in an environment of freedom, not interrogation. When someone chooses to be with you, their actions will show it, without you having to demand evidence at every step. By trusting that, you allow the relationship to breathe. And ironically, when you stop chasing constant reassurance, you often get more of it naturally, because the other person feels safe enough to give it freely. Of course, needing reassurance doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Everyone has insecurities, the difference is in how you handle them. If you're able to soothe yourself, remind yourself of your own value, and show up to the relationship as someone grounded, you instantly become more attractive. It's not that you never have doubts, but you don't let those doubts dictate every interaction. Men are especially sensitive to this dynamic, because what draws them in is often how they feel around you. If being with you makes him feel admired, respected, and free to give at his own pace, he'll lean in. But if he feels like he's constantly trying to fill a bottomless cup, eventually he'll pull away, not because he doesn't care, but because he feels depleted. Attraction is fueled by a balance of giving and receiving. If you already believe in your own value, then his affection becomes a beautiful bonus, not a lifeline. And when you show that you trust yourself enough to not need endless reassurance, he begins to trust the relationship more too. That trust is what allows love and attraction to deepen naturally, without force. One of the fastest ways to lose attraction in a relationship is when you make a man the center of your universe. At first it might feel romantic. You want to spend all your time with him, you drop everything to be available, and slowly, without realizing it, your hobbies, your friends and your goals start to fade into the background. In the beginning, he might enjoy the attention, but over time it starts to feel like a heavy weight, because the relationship no longer feels like a partnership, it feels like he has become responsible for your happiness. Attraction grows when two people bring rich, fulfilling lives together. It's not about completing each other, it's about complementing each other. When you abandon your own world to orbit entirely around his, you take away the very qualities that made you attractive to him in the first place. Think about it. When he first noticed you, what drew him in wasn't that you were desperate for his attention, but that you had your own spark. You had things going on, your friendships, your passions, your ambitions. That independence made you magnetic. When that disappears, so does a big part of the attraction. I remember coaching someone who admitted she stopped going to her yoga classes after she started dating a guy because she didn't want to miss a chance to see him. She thought she was showing how much she cared, but over time she became resentful because she wasn't doing the things she loved anymore. And he, instead of being flattered, started pulling back because the dynamic felt suffocating. What began as excitement turned into pressure. He didn't want to feel like her entire world rested on whether or not he texted that day. The irony is that men are drawn to women who have their own lives. A woman who has her own passions and social circle feels vibrant and self-sufficient. She doesn't need him to fill every gap in her world. She invites him to be part of it. That's a huge difference. When he feels like he's entering an already fulfilling life, he sees his role as adding joy, not carrying the weight of being your only source of it. This doesn't mean you should be distant or unavailable. Connection and intimacy require time together, but balance is everything. When you continue to nurture your own goals and friendships, you bring more energy, stories, and positivity back into the relationship.
That makes you exciting to be around, because you're not just taking, you're giving fresh energy from your own experiences. Men don't want to feel like they've become someone's entire identity. They want a partner who stands alongside them, not behind them. When you make someone your entire world, you unintentionally create an imbalance. He feels like he has all the freedom and space while you have none. That imbalance breeds insecurity and often pushes him further away. The most attractive relationships are built when both people continue to grow individually while growing together. Keeping your own life alive doesn't mean you care less about him. It means you care enough to stay the person he was drawn to in the first place. And the beautiful thing is, when he sees that you're fulfilled and happy in your own right, he'll actually want to be around you more. Not because he feels he has to, but because he genuinely enjoys the light you bring into his world. Attraction doesn't last on physical chemistry alone. Looks might grab someone's attention, but it's the emotional connection that makes them stay. When you neglect that layer, the relationship starts to feel hollow, no matter how much passion or excitement was there at the start. Men don't just want a woman who looks good on their arm, they crave someone who makes them feel deeply understood. Without that sense of being seen, the spark gradually fades. Even if everything else on the surface seems perfect, it's easy to get caught up in appearances or routine when you're dating. You might think being fun, charming, or always looking your best is enough to keep attraction alive. But if your conversations stay shallow, if you never dig beneath the surface of who he really is, he eventually stops feeling emotionally invested. He may still enjoy your company, but he won't feel that unshakable pull that comes from genuine intimacy. I once spoke with a woman who told me she did everything right in her relationships. She was supportive, affectionate, and always made an effort to look attractive. Yet men kept losing interest after a few months. When we looked closer, the missing piece was clear. She was holding back from real vulnerability. She was so focused on being perfect that she never let men see her authentic side, the messy, honest, unfiltered parts of herself. Without that, the men she dated couldn't truly connect with her, and without connection, attraction quickly withered. Neglecting emotional connection doesn't always mean avoiding deep talks. Sometimes it's about not listening fully, or being so wrapped up in what you want to say that you miss what the other person is actually sharing. It might show up as deflecting with humor when things get serious, or brushing past moments when he's opening up. Those are missed opportunities to bond. When a man shares something vulnerable, and you lean in with presence, empathy, and understanding, it creates trust. And trust is the foundation of lasting attraction. There's also the fear factor. Some people avoid deep connection because they're scared of getting hurt. They think if I don't get too close, I won't lose myself if it ends. But the irony is, by holding back, you create the very outcome you fear: disconnection. Real attraction comes from allowing yourself to be seen, and just as importantly, from seeing the other person. Asking thoughtful questions, paying attention to his values, understanding his dreams, and being curious about what drives him builds a bond that surface-level attraction can never match. Men remember how they feel when they're with you. If they feel admired, safe, and emotionally connected, they will keep coming back, not just out of habit, but because the connection feels irreplaceable. If they feel like they're just going through the motions, eventually the novelty wears off. That's why prioritizing emotional depth is essential. It doesn't mean every conversation has to be serious. You can still laugh, play, and enjoy light-hearted moments, but weaving in emotional intimacy ensures the relationship grows stronger rather than fading with time. When you make the effort to truly connect, you shift the entire dynamic. Suddenly, he's not just drawn to you because of attraction, he's drawn because he feels seen in a way that's rare, and that's what makes you unforgettable. One of the easiest ways to unintentionally kill attraction is by forgetting to be playful. At the beginning of a relationship, everything feels light, fun, and spontaneous. You laugh at each other's jokes, you tease each other, you find silly reasons to text in the middle of the day. That light-hearted energy is magnetic. It makes spending time together exciting. But over time, many people fall into the trap of letting seriousness take over. They start turning every conversation into a problem to solve, every interaction into a test, and every moment together into a measure of where the relationship stands. What was once playful and joyful begins to feel heavy. Men, just like women, are drawn to people who make them feel good. Attraction isn't just about beauty or chemistry, it's also about the emotional experience someone has when they're around you. If every time he sees you, it feels like there's going to be a serious talk or a checklist of issues to go through, it becomes draining. On the other hand, if he knows that being with you brings laughter, ease, and play, he'll keep craving that energy. Playfulness is often underestimated, but it's the very thing that keeps the spark alive even years into a relationship. I once worked with a woman who said her boyfriend started pulling away after a year together. She thought the solution was to have more serious talks about where things were going. The more pressure she applied, the more distant he became. When we unpacked it, she realized she had stopped being the fun, spontaneous version of herself he had fallen for. She was so focused on locking down the relationship's future that she forgot to enjoy the present. When she brought back small moments of play, sending him funny texts, surprising him with little adventures, laughing instead of arguing about minor things, the shift was instant. He felt drawn back in, not because the problems disappeared, but because the joy returned. Playfulness doesn't mean avoiding serious conversations when they're needed. It simply means balancing them with lightness. Life already comes with its share of stress, and relationships should be the place where both people can feel relief, not added tension. That's why shared jokes, teasing, and laughter are so important. They act like glue, keeping two people close even when life gets challenging. Sometimes people hold back from being playful because they're worried about not being taken seriously. But the truth is, the ability to laugh, to let your guard down, and to be silly in front of someone shows incredible confidence. It says, I don't need to be perfect, I can just be myself. That kind of authenticity is far more attractive than always trying to appear composed or serious. Playfulness also keeps curiosity alive. It reminds him that there's always something new and exciting about being with you. It creates memories that stand out. Years later, people don't usually remember every serious conversation they had in a relationship, but they do remember the nights they laughed until their stomach hurt, the spontaneous trips, the inside jokes only the two of you understood. Those are the moments that build a bond that feels irreplaceable. Attraction thrives in an environment where both people feel free to enjoy each other. When you let go of constant seriousness and invite more fun, you bring back the very energy that drew him to you in the first place. A relationship doesn't lose its spark because time passes, it loses it when people stop doing the things that made them light up together. Bringing back playfulness is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to keep attraction not just alive but growing stronger. At the end of the day, attraction isn't about being perfect, it's about being intentional. When you avoid these mistakes, over-investing too soon, ignoring your standards, seeking constant reassurance, making him your whole world, neglecting emotional connection, and forgetting to be playful, you naturally show up as your most confident, magnetic self. The right man isn't looking for someone who bends over backward to keep him. He's looking for someone who values herself, who brings joy, who knows her worth, and who lets him earn a place in her life. When you hold on to that truth,